Imagine this. Alex has always dreamed of working in the music industry, but right now he's stuck in a job he doesn't love, scrolling through social media, watching others live the life that he wants. He tells himself, you know what, one day my break is gonna come. My big opportunity is on the way, I know it. Then one day it happens. He gets an email from a friend. Hey, I know it's last minute, but there's a producer looking for an intern for the studio. Interested? His heart pounds as adrenaline goes through his body and he says, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. But then doubt creeps in. What if I'm not ready? What if I mess up? What if I leave my stable job, nothing comes from it, and I end up right back here? Alex types back, thanks for your consideration. It's not a good time right now, maybe next time. Fast forward a year. Alex is at an event walking through a crowd when he suddenly hears someone call his name. He turns around and meets Marissa, the intern that took the opportunity. But she's not an intern anymore. She's producing tracks for major artists, networking with industry leaders, and living the exact life that Alex dreamed about. That moment hits like a punch to the gut. Pow! This is how most opportunities are lost. Not because they don't exist, but because we don't always recognize them. We tell ourselves we'll get another chance. We tell ourselves the timing will be better later. But the truth is, most of the time, the door doesn't open twice. And today, we're going to talk about 4 windows of opportunity, how to see them, how to step through them, and how to stop waiting for one day. Imagine standing in a room with 4 windows, each offering a different view of the world. But what if you only ever looked through one? You'd believe that one view was the world in its entirety. It's all I see. This is the trap of the narrow perspective. Too often we cling to familiar viewpoints, shaped by our past experiences, fears, and assumptions. This limited lens keeps us stuck, all the while blinding us from fresh opportunities and untapped potential. And we tell ourselves, this is just the way it is. That's not possible for me. But I want you to consider this. Is it possible that the life you dream of is waiting just beyond your current perspective? It's like walking through a dark tunnel with a flashlight. You can only see a few steps ahead. And if you adjust your direction, you'll assume the path in front of you is the only one. But what if you just tilted the light slightly to the left or slightly to the right? You might see an entirely new path that you've never even noticed before. Shifting your perspective expands what is possible in your mind. In order to escape the trap of a limiting perspective, there's 3 things I challenge you to do. The first is a reality check exercise. Write down one area of your life where you feel stuck. Then write down the 3 biggest excuses you make as to why you can't change it. Flip each of the 3 excuses into a challenge. An example of this is flipping "I'm not qualified" into "how can I be better?" The second thing I challenge you to do is to force yourself to shift your perspective. Find someone who has already succeeded in the thing that you're struggling with and study their story. What patterns of belief do you see in their life that are not currently in your life? What risk were they willing to take that you are not willing to take? And the third is the 48-hour challenge. For the next 2 days, act as if your biggest limitation isn't real. Let's see what happens. If you're afraid to put yourself out there, post that video. Let's see what happens. Any situation that you think you need more time, take that first leap and get started. It's time to open that first window and see the world and your life with fresh eyes. And these 3 challenges are one way to get started. So the first window of opportunity is challenging the narrow lens. The second window is the window of awareness, seeing what others miss. Opportunities aren't always obvious, but they are always there. Most people sleepwalk through life. missing the very thing that could change everything. I recently came across the story of Casey Neistat. Before he became one of the biggest creators on YouTube, he was a broke dishwasher. One day, his bike got stolen, and instead of just complaining, he made a short film exposing how easy it was to steal a bike in New York. That video went viral and launched his filmmaking career. Now, what's the difference between Casey and everybody else in the world who has had their bike stolen? He paid attention. And one of the things that we need to remember is that opportunities often come wrapped up in frustrations, in inconveniences, and in setbacks. And the question that we must ask ourselves is, are we looking through the pain point far enough to see the opportunity that is present? There's gold in them there hills. So how do we begin to look through window number 2? The first thing is to make it a point to have daily reflection. Every night, ask yourself, what did I notice today that I didn't see before? Write it down, because what you're doing is you're training yourself to see beyond the noise of life. Another way to leverage window number 2 is to use frustration as fuel. There are riches in pain points. I once heard that most inventions are born out of frustration. You're doing something that is inefficient to the point that is driving you to get creative and come up with a different solution. What's the problem that keeps annoying you? Don't get mad. Get glad. Instead of dismissing it, ask, is there a solution, a business, or an opportunity in this? You might be surprised with what you come up with. The third way to look out of window number 2 is to listen without judgment. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. So instead of getting defensive when you hear feedback, ask, what truth might be in this that I can learn from? And as a bonus, if there's ever an issue that someone is bringing to your attention and you feel yourself getting really, really worked up, that is often an indication that it is an area that you need to listen to the most. The more aware you are, the more opportunities you see. And now we are at window number 3, the window of action, turning potential into reality. Ideas without action are just dreams. Vision is crucial, so don't get it twisted, but a vision that isn't executed just remains pictures on a board. Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks, he didn't wait for the perfect opportunity to expand a small coffee chain into a global brand. He started small, he tested his concept, and kept refining. This is what separates those who succeed from those who just think about it. Think about the last time you had an idea. Maybe it was a business concept, a fitness goal, or some creative project. What did you do with it?
I'm just waiting for the right time.
Although you may not be able to jump into the fullness of a thing, you can still get started. So how do we turn potential into reality? First, break it down. Take your biggest goal and break it into micro steps. What's the smallest action that you can take today? Number 2, set a daily non-negotiable habit. I believe it's better to work on your goal 10 minutes a day than to never start it or binge work it once a month. And number 3, stop overthinking and start testing. Wisdom comes from application, and you can spend so much time learning how to do something that you don't put it into action and gain the wisdom of how it actually works. No experience, no wisdom. Stop waiting, start building, because the window of action is open. You just have to step through it. And the last one is the window of persistence, staying the course when the path gets hard. This is the most challenging one. But if you can walk through this window, you will succeed while others don't. Because there's many that work on their perspective. There's some that work on their awareness. There's even some that work on action and start taking small steps towards whatever their goal is. But there are few that stay the course when the path gets hard. Every success story includes setbacks. And I would submit this thought to you. The only difference between those who succeed and those who don't is persistence. How many things have you quit or given up on when it got hard? Maybe it was a side hustle. It was a good idea, ended up falling off. A fitness goal where you were starting to lose and then you plateaued, and rather than adjusting, you just gave up. You said, well, baby, if I'm done losing weight, let me, give me that Snickers. A lot of times when we quit something, we were really, really close to getting what we wanted. And I would even go as far as to say that obstacles are an indication that you're on the right path. Disruption follows intention. And so if you're doing something and there's no disruption, if you're doing something and you never encounter an obstacle, there's a chance that you are wasting your time. But if you could just push through, you might be right there. And I want to challenge you with this thought. Everything is hard before it gets easy. Think about it practically. When you first got here, you did not know how to walk. Walking was hard, but you stuck to it. And now walking as an adult is easy. When you first started riding a bike was hard. You kept falling off that guy, scraping your knees, but you kept doing it, and eventually riding a bike was easy. And I would submit this thought to you that nothing is bigger than you. Nothing is too hard for you. You just have to push through it because everything is hard before it's easy. And I would hate for you to live a life where you were constantly looking back and wondering, what if I had just pushed through it? What if I had just kept going? You might be closer than you think you are. 3 steps to developing that persistence. Number 1 is to revisit your why. Never start something without a why, because your why gives you a push when you cannot push yourself. And when you come up against something that's hard, if you have your why established, you can always go back to look and say, oh, that's right. This is why I'm doing this. Number 2, ask yourself the resilience question. And that is a simple reframe that when something goes wrong, I don't ask why me, I ask what can I learn from this? And number 3, apply the 6-month rule. Now, the time frame doesn't really matter. What matters is your commitment to your goal. So when you have a time that you feel like quitting, maybe tell yourself, I don't feel like I'm seeing results, but you know what? I'm gonna give it a month. I'm gonna give it 3 months. I'm going to give it the next 6 months. The window of persistence is about staying the course, no matter how long it takes. The people that are successful, they aren't smarter than you. They are more persistent than you, but you don't have to remain that way. So which window do you need to open today? Is it the perspective window? Do you need to change the way you're looking at things? Is it the awareness window? Do you have blind spots and you're looking at the problem instead of the possible solution? Is it the action window because you're sitting there waiting on someday? Or is it the persistent window and you're at a plateau and you feel like giving up? Here's the reality. The time is going to pass either way. And 5 years from now, you will either look back at this moment as the day that everything changed, or just another time that you made a decision to stay stuck. Most people wait. Most people assume that another chance will come. Most people stay in the same cycle for years. But that's not you. The windows of opportunity, they're open. Step through it or stay where you are. Your future self is awaiting your decision. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button. We are building a community of 100,000 expanders. So if you enjoyed this video, you're in the right place. And if you're already a subscriber, go ahead and share this video with someone who you think it will help. Always remember that growth is a journey, it's not a destination. I'm in it with you, and I'll see you on the next one.